Attendance enabled. So guys, some things to start with. Uh, I told you about Avnish, my friend, who would be taking a lecture. So as of now, I've planned to keep it at 6 p.m. on the next Sunday. The Sunday that will come up. So if you guys have any other engagements there, you can of course tell me. Otherwise, let me be frank that this is not a part of your syllabus. So whatever he talks about is not something uh, that will be actually a part of your end semester exam. Um, Other than that, I also plan to take a makeup exam. Okay. Now let me tell you what that makeup exam is. Those people who got uh, less than 25 marks in mid-semester exams, and there were at least a few who missed submitting their forms as well. So they are essentially getting a zero. So those people who got less than 25 marks in midsem, they'll get a chance to score at least something. Okay, so that it doesn't count as a zero towards their midsem. But the upper limit is 25. Okay, so if you scored more than 25, you need not even worry about it. If you've scored less than 25, um, you might give it a shot. It's like this, right? If you got a zero, then I certainly assume that you will be taking it because anything is better than zero. Um, Even if let us say you got some other mark like 20 marks or 15 marks, you can attempt that makeup exam. Okay, so the idea is not really to give them another chance, okay, because that will be unfair with the guys who have done well in the midsem. The idea is that it's only worth half of the midsem weightage, so people will get some chance to, if they are actually falling in that range where they might fail, that 25 mark test will allow them to score at least something, so that everyone passes the course. That is the idea. Okay, so as of
So what
now, I
if
don't know
you
when I should
get
keep it.
25?
Go ahead.
What if you got exact 25 marks?
Then you don't need to write, because at best you will get 25. Uh, Hello?
Yes, sir, yes.
Yeah. So essentially it's like this. The maximum you can get in the makeup exam is 25. Okay, and it will count as a replacement for your midsem. So I mean, basically, those who do take it, it will be like the best of two. Either the midsem mark or this mark will be counted towards midsem. So basically, this is for, I know that there are at least 3, 4 students who missed submitting their form. So I don't want them to fail. That is the idea. So I'm just conducting another exam. This will be a much harder exam. Um, Everything up to, okay. So although most of the questions will be from the mid-sem syllabus, there might be some questions from syllabus after that as well. So just assume this is some kind of a preparatory test for you, for the end semester exam. So you have to work hard. I told everyone who forgot to submit their form that I will give you a chance. It will be a much harder chance to pass, but I will give you a chance. So that chance I am going to provide somewhere in the next weekend. Okay, I still do not know how to manage everything. I have a lot of things lined up in this week and next week. So at my personal front. So uh, you can, Vajdeep. Sure, you can give the exam for practice. It's certainly if I won't stop anyone from taking up the test. So if you want to give it for practice, you can certainly take it. Um, uh, so yeah, but the idea is I'll count your but plus but please do this, drop me an email saying that I am going to take it just for practice, because I have to do this marks management, right? I mean, I will be assuming that everyone who's taking up the text test, they are basically doing it for survival. Okay, so if you are doing it for practice, do drop me an email so that I will actually not consider your marks at all. I'll just consider it for the other students. It just makes my job easier. I know that if you've got more than 25, it doesn't matter, because in the final Excel sheet, um, the midsem marks will be counted and not this one. But still, it will make my own job easier. So if you do take it for practice, drop me an email, okay, so that I simply ignore your marks. So that is for those students who uh, basically forgot to submit their forms. Okay, you get one chance to pass. You're basically getting one chance to get enough marks so that you don't fail. Okay, so just a minute. I still don't know what questions to put for today, because uh, today's topic, as well as the one for, yeah, by the way, we don't have a third lecture for this week. We only have 2 lectures, and I'm actually going to my home institute, to Kanpur on Monday. So I will not be able to take your Monday lecture. So what we'll do is, we had kept aside 3 lectures for revision. So we will use the Wednesday lecture as one of the revision lectures, and then the next 2 lectures, Tuesday and Wednesday, the next Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll make up for 3 revision lectures. Okay, so we'll have the complete control, that whatever we wanted. Okay, so let's start, guys. Sanskriti, are you in this batch? Yeah, you're in this batch, right? So Sanskriti has already volunteered for
Yes, sir.
yeah, so she has already volunteered for shepherding prior to the class started. So now, any more shepherds? Okay, one, two, three, four. Okay, four. Fine. So from the top, I'm going to read four: Priyanshu, Palak, Rohan, and Ayush. So you guys are going to be the shepherd. Let me open up my shepherding sheet. This is what IT and CSAI. Today is March, right? Where is it? Here. 1 March. Okay, we are already in March now. March, March, March. Okay. So start telling me your roll numbers and Sanskriti. You can start your roll number and section.
CS 56.
CS 56. 56. Okay, got it. Then who's next?
IT 11, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, IT 11. Just a minute. IT 11. Yeah, okay. Next.
Sir, IT 30.
Just a minute. IT 30. Got it.
Sir,
Next.
CS 64.
CS 64. Got it. And one more, right?
Yeah, sir, IT 24.
24. Got it. Okay, got it. I'll just change the colors for this in my sheet. You're going to probably get a little more marks for this. I'll make it different color so that I remember. Okay, got it. So let us start, guys. I have written the first question and I will start adding more questions, but let us start with the first. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
So you can...
I actually downloaded some illustrations for the gates. So can you give me the...
Sure. Just a minute. Priyanshu. Just a minute. I'll make you... so then what I'll do is... Priyanshu, just... I'm sending this question to you over chat. So just open up another window at your end. Copy this
Right, sir.
question there, and then I'll keep on sending you with private chats more questions that you can keep on pasting in the document. Does
Right,
that
sir.
make sense? Right? So
Yes, sir.
so I'm just going to first make you the presenter, because if I make you the presenter, I think I won't be able to share my screen. So
I can, yeah, okay, sir. I can put you back, but if you need it, yeah.
No. I mean, it will be easier. You share the screen. I'm making you the presenter. Okay, so you are the presenter, and this is the first question. And I will send you more questions over the chat. So you can probably create a Word document, put this question there, and then I'll keep putting more questions to you over private chat.
Right, sir. Okay. Just a minute, sir. This
Sure.
Okay, so for some reason it doesn't let me copy, so I've typed it out a little. I'll just...
Acha, okay. Yeah, actually, WebEx's chat is really poor. I mean, if you try to copy something, that whole window starts scrolling. So
is my screen...
yeah, your screen is visible now.
Okay, sir. So I'd like to start with why we use only binary and not any other system. So there have been attempts in the past to use ternary systems and quinary systems, that is 3 and 5 different states respectively. But the problem with this was that whenever there is a electronic interference from any other device, it's really hard to maintain the difference between the states. So on and off, it's very easy. It's either on or off. But when you try to have multiple states like 0, 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, sorry, 0, 1, 2, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, then the issue with that is with certain amount of electronic interference, the value can change because the values are put together very tightly. So that was the one reason that we actually chose binary over any other systems, and the other systems kind of failed. There have been attempts to make systems of other number of bits in them, and other number of chunks in them. And another reason that we had, like there was binary was a better option, was that there was already a branch of mathematics known as Boolean algebra. Boolean algebra predates the whole binary system, because Boolean algebra was developed by George Boole way before it was decided that we're going to be using binary. So basically gates are transistors, right? That's what we've studied in electronics class. So we have this is a transistor, right? So we have an input, and when our input is positive, the current flows through. And when the input is not there, like there is no current in the input wire, then the output will not flow through the transistor. So when this part is not letting the current flows through here. So when we have an input, this current will flow through here, and this output wire will not have any current. And when we don't have the current, like when the current cannot flow through here, the current will flow through here. So when there is an input, there is no output. When there is where there is no input, there is an output. So this creates the NOT gate, because when we have the value 1, we get an output of 0, and when we have 0 as an input, we get a value of 1. And NOT gates makes one of the most basic structures, like the very first structures of like gates. Here on, we can use NOT gates to build a lot more complex structures. Now, AND gate, the logical and that we use, those are basically true transistors in series. So when one of the gates is on and the other is off, the current will not be able to flow through the output. Output is here, by the way. This is the output and this is the input. So when one of them is on and one of them is not on, the current will just get stuck here and it will not reach the output. And if this one is on and this one is off, again, the current will just get stuck here. It will never be able to reach the output. For AND to be true, both the values have to be true. Like both of them, both the input wires have to have a true value. So only 1 and 1 will give me 1. Anything other than 1 and 1 will not give me 1. So 0, 1 will all give me 0. And 0, though, if you're not putting only the 0, 0 will be 0 only. Now, OR gate is a little bit more interesting. So now OR gate are two transistors, but in parallel. So even if one of our inputs is true, the current will be able, this is the output and this is the input, and these are the the wires. So now, these are the inputs and this is the output. So whenever one of our input is true, the current will be able to flow through to the output. We don't have to depend on both of them to be true. If both of them are true, it's only like, it's better. It's not like we're going to get stuck. Both of them can be true. One of them can be true. The current is still going to flow through. But if both of them are off, then the current has no way to flow through till the output. This is the input current and this is our input values. So again, the truth table will be like 1, 0 will give me 1. I think the font is small. I'll just increase it. Right? And then 0, 1 will also give me 1. And then 1 will also give me 1, and 0, 0, 0. Now there's another, I can't say a type of, but there's another gate known as XOR gate, right? Exclusive OR. So exclusive OR, like the name suggests, exclusive, it means that your input has to be exclusively 1. For example, I came up with an example. It's kind of lame, but okay. So exclusive OR. So you can think of exclusive OR as asking parents for a PS5 and Xbox Series 1 at the same time. There are no chance you're gonna get both unless you're very rich, but there is a chance, like the best chances you're gonna get one of them. So even if you try to ask for both of them, you're not gonna be happy because you'll end up getting none. If you ask for none, you're not gonna get any. But if you ask for one, there's a very good chance you get it. So the logical table comes up something like this. So if you ask for both, you're gonna get a slab, so nothing. If you ask for none, of course they aren't gonna buy you by themselves. You ask for one, you get it. You ask for another one, you get it. So
Priyanshu, just a minute. I'm not sure what exactly have you guys been taught in the electronics course, but are you guys aware of the concept of a truth table? Has this been a part of your electronics syllabus? Anything related to
Sir,
truth
we
table?
actually read truth table in class 12th only.
No, no,
so
no.
we hacked it
Not
for JEE.
not for those like who. Okay, is it a part of JEE syllabus?
Yeah, mains we
Yes,
had
sir.
semiconductors. So.
Okay, so then I am assuming, right, everyone knows what a truth table is. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for those. Is there anyone here who doesn't know? It's completely fine. It's like 2 minutes of time it will take to explain to you what a truth table is. But if you don't know what a truth table is, please ask right now, because otherwise all these things will not make any sense to you. Because this depends on whether you prepared for it, whether you've studied it in +2, and whether you prepared that part of syllabus related to JEE, because it's quite possible that even though it was a part of your syllabus, but you did not prepare it. So is everyone, able to? Can everyone? Is it not being taught in your electronics course? I'm a bit surprised. What exactly did they teach in electronics to you? I'm not sure. uh, anyhow,
Sir, we also don't know, sir, what is taught.
I mean,
No.
that is the whole point of teaching you electronics, right? If they don't teach you Boolean algebra in electronics, um, what did they teach you? MOSFET or what?
Yes.
I'm not. That is what. This is the problem. They will teach you things like trans P, NPN, PNP, and
PNP.
Yes, sir.
PN junction diodes, but they won't tell you what is Boolean algebra. That is idiotic. But anyhow, because from your perspective, Boolean algebra is more important as compared to how, from what side the electrons move and to what side the holes move. So anyhow, guys, everyone understands what is a truth table?
So I can make a quick like a quick go through of it, like a crash course in like a minute or half.
Yeah, please do that, because otherwise I have to look at everyone, right? And I can't simply assume that everyone knows what is a truth table. So
Okay.
right? Okay, go ahead.
So I'll just. Can you see this font? Is this font visible to you all?
Yeah, it is visible to me at least, but it will be better if you just, because some people might actually be viewing it on a mobile device, so maybe slightly higher will be better. I guess this much is better.
Yeah. So basically, whenever we say truth table, right? So why truth table? So what we're doing is we take the value of true, matlab on as 1, because it's a binary system, right? So we only have two values. We have 1 and 0. Now we represent other values in terms of 1 and 0. Like in our decimal system, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we represent all the higher values in terms of those. In binary, we represent all the values in terms of zeros and ones. So now we take the value of 1 to be true and the value of 0 to be false. It is probably come from like, is the current flowing? Yes, true, 1. Is the current not flowing? No, 0, false. It's probably come from that. I'm not sure, but you can learn it, like remember it like that. So whenever I say my input is 1, which means my current is flowing. So if you see this, the yellow wire, this one is the input. So this is the current is flowing. So it's 1. And when this current will flow, the transistor will also let the current flow. So the output is going to remain 0, which is no current flowing. So we just take the different cases. If input is 1, if input is 0, if input is not 1, if input is not 0, and then we get different number of cases. Now the total number of values, as far as I remember, so you'll have to check this, so is 2 to the power of n, and where n is the inputs. So that is the n. Okay, I don't know how to get a superscript in note, but 2 to the power of n. So whenever we suppose we have one input, we'll have 2 to the power of n values in our truth table. And when we have two inputs, we'll have 2 to the power of 2, which is 4 values. Again, here we have two inputs, A and B, and we have 4 values. So basically what we do is we take into consideration all the things that can happen. Like in this AND gate, like in this AND gate, I'll change this heading also. This is the this is A, this is B, and this is output. So what are the possible values that A can take and B can take? This is a little bit like PNC. PNC to all of us have read, right? So what are the different combinations that A and B can have? Permutations that A and B can have. So we have both of them true. We have A true, B false, A false, B true, and both of them false. And these are all that can be there, right? There is no other case that can be there. These are all the values that can be there. So now we just see what the output is there for the different cases. So this is true, output will be true. False, true, output will be false. true false output will be false, false true output will be false, and false false guys false. And same thing for the OR gate, and I'll increase the size. Yeah, so same thing here. Yeah, so this is A, this is B, and this is output. So again, if A is true and B is false, we're gonna get an output of true. If A is false, B is true, output is again true. A is true, B is true, output is going to be true. And A is false, B is false, the output is going to be false. Now the only difference in the exclusive OR is that when both of them are true, the answer is still false, because we want it to exclusively only be true when one of the values are true. That is the only difference between exclusive OR. An exclusive OR, just FYI, can be made through the AND, NOT, and OR gates. I didn't get that illustration because I think it was redundant, but you can actually make it through just these three gates. Is everyone fine with it? Like truth table now, does everybody know? I'll just assume everybody knows. Okay. So now what is the difference between logical and bitwise operators? What is the results produced when we use okay, I copied it wrong or something. Okay, so I'll just
So I've sent you the document. You can probably open it up somewhere.
yes, sir,
I've just put it in Drive, so you can simply open it in a Chrome tab or something like that.
yes, sir. My illustrations are done, so I'll just share the screen. Can you see my doc window right now, sir, or only the OneNote?
Just the OneNote.
Okay, so just a minute, I'll change the sharing settings.
Maybe I can continue speaking about bitwise operators.
Yeah, I opened it here. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, go on.
So as Priyanshu talked about logical operators, and in that he told that as a input we take only 0 and 1. But what if we want to work with integers? Means instead of zeros and ones, we want to work with suppose 2, 3, 4, and whatever are decimal numbers. Basically all integers. So for this, bitwise operators are used, and bitwise operators work over the integer operands. Means we take integers as input, and it produces integers as output. And it is not necessary to only work with zeros and ones. We can work with any integer in that. But at the same time, it is recommended to not to use negative integers, as the output might means it might give unexpected results, which we will see further. Similarly, as logical operators have three types like and, or, and not. So in bitwise operator also there are three types: bitwise and, bitwise or, bitwise not, and also that one exclusive or, which Priyanshu talked about in logical operators. So in bitwise operator also XOR is used, which is exclusive or. So bitwise operators are similar to logical operators, but the difference is that in logical operators, our inputs are only zeros and ones, so we work with zeros and ones only. But as the bitwise name suggests, it work bit wise. Means suppose we have to work with any integers like 3, 4, anything. So we first represent it in the uh, in its binary form. 16 bits binary form representation. We represent that integer, and um, can you open that slide that sir has shown?
Yeah, just a minute. We can continue. I'll open it in the background.
Dhruv,
Is
please,
there any
sorry,
doubt?
Priyanshu, please download the new slides from the
Yes,
from the
I'm getting
drive.
it from the drive. Yeah, sir.
Yeah, because there was some mistakes in the slides that someone told me yesterday, so I have corrected them and put them again.
Okay, so I'll just share my entire screen because this is, yeah, just a minute, sir. एक second.
So is there any doubt till now?
You want the values, right? This one.
Yes.
Okay, I'll open the last slide first.
Uh, so suppose we have to perform bitwise.
What do you want, and or?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Suppose we want to perform a bitwise AND operation on two integers we have taken 6 and 13. So we represent 6 in its 6 bits binary form representation, like as shown in this slide. So we had written all zeros and value of 6 as 110 there, and below it we had written binary representation of 13. So similar to AND operation, we perform AND operation bit by bit here. Suppose the last digit, that is the 15th number, 0 and 1. So we will perform AND operation on 0 and 1. So in AND, 0 and 1 gives output as 0. So we had written in output, we had written that 15th place digit as 0. And similarly, uh, we, uh, similarly, we will perform this AND operation on 14th, 14th place digit as 1 and 0 as 0. And then again, we move ahead, and 13th digit is 1 and 1. So in AND operation, it gives 1. So we had written there 1. So similarly, we will perform the AND operation bit by bit, moving from right to left. And then we will convert the our output, which is in 16-bit binary form, to decimal form. So 16, and so bitwise AND operation between 6 and 13, we get 4 as output. So likewise, we can perform bitwise OR operation, bitwise NOT, bitwise XOR. Just we have to do is we have to represent them in means we have to represent them both the numbers, both the inputs as binary form, and we have to perform the respective operation like and bitwise OR. So and operation, OR operation, bit by bit, moving from right to left. Is it clear to everyone?
Okay. So basically, the difference between the logical and the bitwise operator is just that instead of using direct 10 system like the 10 base system, we're just using a 2 base system, and all the values that we want to perform our operations on are not performed by their actual value, but on the values of the bits that they're stored. Like an integer is going to be stored in 16 bits. So we're going to check the values, and we're going to take this value as one input and another value as one input, and then using these two values we can output, and then another output, and then another output with and or with or. Again, the logic is going to remain the same, but it's going to happen on a bit by bit level to whatever input we're giving on a decimal base, not on a 10 ka base. I forgot the name for it. And these are not unary operators. Sometimes you might confuse yourself with bitwise and unary, but unary is when we only have one input. Bitwise is when we have two inputs, but we just doing it on a bit by bit, bitwise on a bit level. That's all. Here is, you must have read the files. I'll go back to the questions. What are the possible data types over which bitwise operator can be applied?
बिटवाइज नॉट ऑपरेटर को एक्सप्लेन कर दो थोड़ा सा.
हाँ जी,
बिटवाइज नॉट ऑपरेटर को एक्सप्लेन कर दो.
bitwise not operator. Okay. So bitwise not, acha, bitwise not is also kind of the reason why we do not use we don't prefer to use signed integers. क्योंकि bitwise not करता क्या है कि bitwise not just simply takes the decimal values that are there, that are stored that make up your integer and they just flip it. Simple सा है, flip कर देते हैं. जैसे not gate जो हमने लगाया ना वही है. तो हमने एक इनपुट लेना है, हमने 0 लिया, 1 will be the output, we take 1, 0 will be the output. Now there's a possibility कि यहाँ पे कहीं पर I don't know exactly how they works, but यहाँ पर कहीं पर भी कोई वैल्यू होगी जो हमें इस पूरे इंटीजर का साइन बता रही होगी. There'll be a value in this in these 16 bits somewhere that will tell us the sign of the integer, and when we use the not operator it will not be able to differentiate if that is a value that represents the sign or that is a part of the boolean value. So it will just flip that too, and that can cause a very big mess up. So like sir has mentioned here, if it's in 2's complement representation of the signed integer, it will become -7 from 6, but if we are just taking it as integer, it's going to come out what 65529.
ओ
So
ये
that's
So I,
वीडियो में गलत था क्या फोटो सर का बिटवाइज नॉट ऑपरेटर का? मेरे को यही लग रहा है इसकी इसमें थोड़ा वैल्यूज अलग है, उसमें
हाँ
वैल्यू
वो वीडियो में गलत तो सर ने
हाँ
करेक्ट किया है
हाँ
वही वही
हाँ
वही
वो
बस
this is corrected. वो
अब
डिस्क्रिप्शन में भी रहता है वीडियो के.
समझ
वीडियो
गए.
के डिस्क्रिप्शन should check once. Yeah. So
yeah.
bitwise not is clear.
So there is also I think I would have put a program's output also in the slide. That program actually I think runs the same thing in C code, and then there you can actually check the output also. In the output you can see that if you try to interpret it as as an unsigned integer, yes, this is it, right? So if you interpret it as an unsigned integer, this is where okay, there is no line numbers here, but basically check up the first, second, third. I mean those not %hu, right? The third printf amongst the not %hu. It basically the fourth one. If you count the first one, this is a simple demonstration. Okay, so this is the unsigned form, and the next one is the signed form. Okay, so basically the only thing that I am changing here is the format specifier. %hu means interpreted as an unsigned integer, unsigned short integer, and %hi means interpreted as a signed short. And you will see that the output of these two will be different. In the output you can see that one is treated as 65529 and the second one is treated as -7. Not of 6 equal to 65529 and not of 6 equals -7 in signed 2's complement form. So this is the exact idea, that it is just interpretation. They are basically a set of bits. So any bitwise operator doesn't care about the actual interpretation of the overall value. It works on a bit by bit level. Okay, it doesn't care how will the interpretation change. That is the issue. That interpretation is something that we do. Okay, we work in decimals, decimal system. The computer works in the binary. For that, it is just a bit. It is either 0 or it is 1. For us, we have made a convention that these 16 bits in my memory represent an integer. Okay, and that representation itself is the problem. That is why usually we try to use only positive integers, because it makes our life much easier. The moment you say that my integer could either be positive or negative, your life will become much more difficult. That is the idea. Okay, go ahead, guys.
Yeah, a
Sir,
good way to think about it.
so is there a way that we can directly use the binary form of a number, or because when we use it we get the decimal form and then we have to convert it into binary, then do our work?
When you say use it, what exactly do you want? Do you want to print it or something like this?
And not printing, sir. Actually, the whole number when represented in binary can be used to manipulate bits so that we can print all the
So you want to bit. So if you cannot actually the issue is you cannot explicitly change a particular bit. Okay, there is, I mean, you can do it using the bitwise operators. It is a bit tricky, but essentially it's like this.
I don't want to change actually. I just want to read the binary number without actually converting it into binary.
converting it into, see, it's like this. On the memory, it is always stored as a binary thing, right? Because in the memory, everything is a bit, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is, whenever you say a number, for the computer, it is not really a number. For the computer, they are basically memory locations, right? They are, there are 16 bits which you are interpreting in a specific fashion, right? There are 16 contiguous bits in the memory that you are interpreting as an integer. So when you store it in the memory, it is nothing more than zeros and ones, right? Now I'm still not sure what exactly do you want to do with those zeros and ones. um, do you want to get the get the zeros one directly, and I'm not sure what is it that you want to do.
Actually, sir, there was a problem in which we have to print all the possible sub arrays of an array.
Mhm.
So I I viewed a YouTube video in which he used bit manipulation. So for
Mhm.
example, if there's a number 0, there is no possible combination. Empty set. For
Mhm.
1, there is 0 0 0 0 1. So there's only one array. So like that,
Mhm.
by the
Uh,
means of 1 and 0, we can identify that the element present or not. So this way
okay.
I wanted to just print the
Uh, so
subarrays
so
of
if
an
I'm
array.
not wrong, what the particular problem could have been using is something known as a bit map. Okay, a bit map is a way of storing data. Okay, what exactly is a bit map? Um, so let us say you are using a particular type of representation where all you want to know is there a number present at a particular location or not. Okay, or is something present at a particular location or not. So you simply say 0 or 1. There are only two possibilities. So people use something known as a bitmap. The best example of bitmap would be, mm, let us say you are you are fan of some political party. Okay, and you want to check what exactly in what locations is this political party doing well. Okay, so one way to do that is, um, you uh, uh, you basically arrange all the constituencies alphabetically from A to Z, and then let us say there are 20 constituencies. You take a 20-bit uh, data structure. Okay, and wherever your party has won, you make it 1, and wherever your party has lost, you make it 0. So now you have a 20-bit number, okay, which looks like 1 0 0 1 1 1 0 0 0, something like this, right? Now you can actually do a lot with this, right? I mean, there are so many things that you can do with this. For example, if you want to figure out at what places your party has you know has won, at what places your party has lost. So there is a use of bitmap data structure. You will see what is a bitmap probably during your data structures course. But so the question that you were trying to say, I'm still not sure how can we solve it using a bitmap. Maybe what the best thing to do will be to send me the link of that YouTube video. I'll have a look at what that guy is trying to do with bitmaps, and then I can tell you how to do it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So guys, is this part clear? That we have probably answered one of another question, that why is it a poor idea to uh, have negative numbers come in there, right? Because you can only store negative numbers with these signed data types, right? So signed integer, signed short. Um, in programming, we use the signed data types to store negative numbers, and the moment you start using signed data types, there will be a sign bit in your data type, well, usually it is the leftmost bit. So then the problem is, whenever you apply these bitwise operators, there will be, as you guys have discussed right now, they don't care about if a particular bit is a signed bit or not, right? So this is why usually you should use bitwise operators with unsigned data types. It is a good idea to use unsigned data types.
A good way to think about the signed and unsigned data types when we're using not is like using Google Translate, but you're trying to use some dialect, so it'll give you different values for like the same input. because for example, yesterday I was like scrolling through a comment section and I found something in German, so I took it to Google Translate. And if you were suppose there were two words A and B, and A and B together means a nice job or something, and A alone meant a totally different thing, and B alone meant a totally different thing. So there is a very good chance that just because there's a different representation when you put it together and when they're different, so SE, when you put the signed integer, the compiler won't know if it is part of the value or if it parts of a part of the integer, like the part of the integer value, or it's you're trying to portray the sign from that value. That it won't know when you're using a not on it. So it's a very bad idea to use bitwise operator on assigned numbers. Does any other shepherd want to do the shift operators, or do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll do
I
that.
can try.
I can do shift up.
Okay, like whoever's going, go ahead. You
I'll
want me to open
I'll
it?
do the first one, and the next one you can
I
take
can
it.
do. You can do the next one.
Yeah, I'll open it up. Go ahead, Sanskriti. I'll open the left shift.
I think Palak wants to do.
Yeah, Palak. Sorry, Palak. Go ahead. I can't see.
Yeah, so for the left shift operator, we usually if we write 6 and left shift operator 2, then what we mean by that is shift the bit pattern of 6 to the left by 2 positions. So as you can see in the diagram, we have written 6 left shift operator 1. So we shift the entire bit pattern by 1 position and add 0 to the right hand side. Also, I've written an example in the chat, and the spaces are not correctly given in the chat, but from here you can see that first we have an bitwise, that is 0 0 and 1 1. That is the first representation of 3. Then we have and when we shift it by 1 position, then we get 0 1 1 0. So how we represent is like, if we have written 0 0 1 1, we start by 1 and we go like, for the first position we write 2 power to the 0 into 1. Then we move to the next bit, that is 2 power to the 1 into 1. Then we again move to the next position, that is 2 power 2 into 0, because our bit is 0. And
Yeah,
then we
I think the best thing to do will be just type left shift operator in C in Google and go to the images. Okay, and then you can see the first image itself is very good. You can left shift operator in C. This the one which with green with the green things. Like, I mean,
This one,
this
sir?
one.
Green?
Yeah, yeah. Right. So Palak can use this one.
So we start by shifting every bit to the left side, and when we shift it to the left side, our last one becomes empty. So we place a 0 at the empty position. So when we shift it by 1, we place 1 0 at the end and shift every bit by 1 position. When we do it like 14 left shift operator 2, then we shift every bit by 2 positions and add 2 zeros at the end. So basically what a left shift operator represents is a multiplication. If we have initially we have 14 left shift 1, so it represents that this one here represents that we multiply 14 by 2 ki power 1. That means uh, if we shift by k positions, then we multiply our number by 2 ki power k. So here 14 into 2 ki power 1 is equal to 28. In the next example, when we shifted by 2 positions, we simply multiply 14 by 2 ki power 2. That is 14 into 4, 56. Any confusion in that?
Right, everyone will go to the right shift operator then.
I can try this.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll open the right shift operator for you.
So, like in the left shift operator, we saw that the entire bit pattern of the first operand, it gets shifted to the left side by the right operand times. So in the same way, the right shift operator, it shifts the entire the set of bits to the right side by the right operand times. Like for example, let me type it in the chat. We had this A to right shift operator B, so it would shift the bit pattern of A to the B uh, by B places. A by B places. Like for example, I have 6 and this 2. So like the bit pattern of 6 is 110. I'm typing it in the chat box also. So it would shift the entire pattern of this 110 to the right side by 2 places. So this 0 would go to the right place by 2 times. But since there is no vacant space in the right side, it would get removed. Similarly, the one in the second place, it would also get removed, and the third one, it would get shifted to the 2 times to the right by 2 times. So in the end we would only get 1 as the output. Now this is the right shift operator is basically like the integer division, and we divide the integer division, and we would divide the left operator by the and this is basically we had a this would basically give the output as a divided by 2 raised to the power of b. Okay, so like for example, we had 6 and right shift operator 2. In the example, we had a 6 and right shift operator 2. So the answer which we would get is 6 divided by 2 raised to the power of 2. And in the integer sense, it would give me only 1. So this is the right shift operator. I know I have explained it bad.
So I think we're done with the current questions. Okay, what different possible data types do we use bitwise operators on? There are all the different types of integers that we use it over. We can use it over the short int, the long int, but not with, as far as I remember, I think not with the decimal ones, not with the floats and everything. It will be here somewhere. It's there in the slides. I don't think that's something to be explained. So, okay,
It's in
okay,
the
it's somewhere in the
last
okay,
slide.
okay.
Some important points.
Yeah, so it's just a character, short, int, and long. These are the 4 data types that it is applicable to. Sir, do you mind if I try to show how to count in bits?
It's up to you. We have some time. If there are no doubts, you can go ahead.
Yeah, does anybody want to ask any doubts? Because I just
So
Go ahead.
you said as we have to means we perform bitwise operations on integers only, but in that you had written characters, so how we
Ha.
can use
So because
characters?
characters are basically
as
integers only. Okay, for all intents and purposes, all properties of integers are also applicable to characters. Okay.
So we use ASCII value of it.
Yeah, ASCII value, right?
Okay.
a good example for this is there on HackerRank C problem. If you go to the wait, I'll try to. So, do you mind if I open it?
Sure. I have no issues. You have the stage today. You are the rock star.
Okay, so 1 second, I'll try to find. I forgot what question it was. Yeah. Yeah. Can you all see this code? Can like just say yes or something? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it
So I'm
is
assuming
Yes,
visible.
you can see the code. So you see this what that person is doing, right? So because we were given, well, I'll explain the question one second. The question was basically they've given us a string of characters and they're asking us when 0 comes to increase the frequency of 0 by 1. When basically how many times does 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 occur? That is what they're asking us. So what happens is when you take the input as a string, it's going to come up as a character, not as a number, not as an integer. It's going to come up in this, right? It's going to come up in this particular character array. So what this particular person did was he subtracted the character of 0. So what he did was he applied the condition that x should be greater than 0 and less than 9. So this is again going to be character, right? Where is it? That there was a condition that
This is a count for the
it's counting, but wait, I'm trying to, the particular thing that I'm trying to show is that this person subtracted 0, and it subtracted 0 not as an integer, but as ASCII. So what happens is when you have a 1, let's say, I don't remember the value, but suppose, let's say 1 is 55. So when you subtract 0, it will be 54. So you'll be left with actually integral 1. So similarly, if you take 56, and you subtract, these are not actual values, okay? I'm just taking made up values. But it will be in incremental, right? If 0 is 54, 55 is going to be 1, 56 is going to be 2. So 56 minus 54, we actually get the value 2. And this person created another array named map, which had the 0, 1, 2 this thing indices. And that person used this value, which I just explained to you how we would get an integer out of it. From a character of 9, how would we get integer of 9, and then he just put it out here, and he used the condition that it should be, now that we have the x ka value in integer, so he used the condition ki 0 se bada hoga ya 9 se chota hoga, or 9 se like and 9 se chota hoga, and that he used in the map and increased the frequency. So this is the whole thing that Sanskriti kind of tried to ask. So I was just trying to tell you on that.
है map isn't necessary now. We can also do this with
ना,
the
उसका
array.
नाम मैप है, उसका नाम मैप है, वो मैप नहीं है. मैंने I
Oh,
have solved
sorry.
it without
Sorry.
using map. हाँ.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. So another thing, like sir said, you are a fan of a political party and you take up the values, like if you won or lost in 20 different constituencies, you can store the data like this, and you can be like, this is the 2019 ka data, and this is like, this is not of course in binary, and this is 2014 ka data, and from here you can find out what happened, like what are the seats that you won in both years. So you can just say and what are the seats that you won in 1 year, you can put or what are the seats that you won only in 1 year, you can put exclusive or. So you can get a lot of calculation, a lot of data just by using a single gate. So that is how like calculations will work on a couple layers below the abstraction. We have skipped a lot of abstraction layers when we start coding, right? This is very low level, if you may. Okay, now for some people who don't know how to count in binary, I have sort of like a trick kind of a thing if you'd like to listen. So whenever, how I like to remember it, like suppose 0 to 0, 1, 1. But when we are done with 1, right, now we don't have any value to increment. So what we do is we open another section and the पहले वाला section becomes 0. So suppose wait, पहला 0 है अगर, दूसरा 1, तो तीसरा 0, 1, sorry, 1, 0. So now the section that was 1, we reset it again to 0. Now we go another number, so 4 will be 1, 1. And now you see we don't have anything unlocked, and then we again have reached the maximum thing that we can store, 1, 1. So we go 1, 0, 0. And then we go 1, 0, 1. Then we go 1, 1, 0 because we have taken this idhar. Matlab, again, we are going another layer aage, so we take it 0. And then we can go 1, 1, 1. And similarly, you can like keep going and going and going. This is how you count. To convert, there is, I think, something to do with division of 2 that you can find online. So yeah, that will be all for today, I think, if there are no other questions. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So any other queries, guys? We had some discussions in the chat about associativity and commutativity. So XOR is both associative as well as commutative. I mean, that's intuitive, but I still have to be absolutely sure. So I just typed it on Google and it said yes. So I remember, I feel you guys already know what is commutative and associative. That is basic mathematics. So it doesn't matter what order you give your operands, the output will be the same. Okay, so associativity and commutativity, all those things. In fact, if you, and I mean, I was expecting you guys would have read Boolean algebra, but all the Boolean operators, actually are commutative and associative. So this is true with logical and, logical nor, logical or. So all these are associative as well as commutative. So in fact there is something known as De Morgan's laws. So I'm not sure, we should not really go in
We've done that, sir. We've done that as
yeah.
in 12th.
Yeah, so those you guys have not done, you can have a look at De Morgan's laws, and so you actually have to prove these things, that they are associative and commutative. You can do that using a truth table. It's the easiest thing in Boolean algebra, is that whenever you want to prove something, that two Boolean functions are equivalent, you just show that their truth table is exactly the same. So anyhow, this is it. We'll we'll see the second lecture of this week tomorrow, and on Wednesday we'll start with the revision. Okay, thank you guys.
So
Thank you
a
all.
doubt from
Yeah.
the quiz part of it. Sir, if we miss the quiz, can we try the paper with this? Will we be able to compensate for the quiz?
Sorry. Your voice broke in between.
Sorry, sir. You said there's going to be a quiz, right? 25-mark quiz for the
Yeah,
compensation of
that's
midterm.
mostly that's basically a kind of makeup exam. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was asking for the people who've missed the quiz, can we give that exam as a makeup for a quiz?
Uh, okay. So see, I don't think so, because I mean the idea of makeup exam was to just give some guys the option of passing, right? Quiz will not be that high in proportion. You understand that? Even if you miss the quiz, right? It's not really going to be a uh, much bigger thing in the final evaluation. But yeah, if you got a 0 in midsem exam, that might actually make you guys fail. So this is just for those guys, so that you can at least score some marks so that you don't fail. That is the idea. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So thank you guys. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.